welcome to pre-market for January 6th, 2021. We're looking at a wild ride, a ton of divergence. I mean, typically when you're in a trending market, up or down, you're going to see the indexes trading together. So you're going to see Dow Jones, IWM, SPY, Qs all moving in the same direction. That is definitely not the case this morning. I mean, we'll see how she opens, but when I'm looking at futures pre-market, we got Dow Jones up, we've got SPY down a little bit, we've got Qs down about 200, and then we have the Russell up 2.25%. So, I mean, we're all over the map. And then you see bonds. Once again, when things are crazy in the markets, you usually see what's called a flight to safety, where people jump into bonds. You're not seeing that at all. In fact, you're seeing bonds sell off. So, I mean, 2 and 2 isn't equaling 4 here. Once again, if you're a newer trader, ton of caution. We've got boatloads of inside days from yesterday, but the gaps on either side of these inside days are just massive. So I don't know what to tell you. We'll go through a few things and then I'll just give you an overall thoughts. I'm looking again at Fubo from the standpoint that really I like the yearly chart here. Everyone can see my screen, right? I just want to make sure. We're way at the bottom of that deal. We had, a strong day and then it kind of came back. Pre-market, we're gapping up. So really what I'm looking at, I don't know what the deal will be today, but I like the potential to move back up on this chart looking at the yearly. And if I'm looking at pre-market, clearly it's up at the top of that range. This isn't something I'd be jumping into out of the gate. But what I'd like to see on something like this is a pullback for a long, and I'm trying to think maybe to 3 days ago close. Let me just sync that and see what that looks like. I don't even know if that's far enough. Maybe even to, 1 second, to yesterday's close. Where does that? Oop. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood of yesterday's close looks better to me. Let me just see too if where's the bottom of this range? I hate it when it does this. Tell it to paste it and it like flies somewhere else. It doesn't even make sense. So I don't know. I'd like to see it pull back and hold. If it holds yesterday's close, I would like that for a sign of strength for a pop higher. If it starts getting into this 26 level, I mean, that's not horrible because you can see on the daily, it's this range right here. But I mean, if it's really strong, it could just run out of the gate. For me personally, unless there's something really compelling about that, which I'm not seeing here, I wouldn't be jumping into it out of the gate. I like it too because if you look at the daily, I can see the broadening formation here and we're relatively near the bottom with room to go up, but I'd be waiting for a pullback and then, your typical low, high, higher low, higher high triangle layout to get in on a smaller time frame. So I'd be watching it on the 1 minute to make that pattern and maybe take it long, assuming it gives you that signal. Go, I like for the same type of reason. We've got lots of room back to the upside. It is gapping, but not of course, the range on this thing isn't as big as some of the other stocks. Let's just sync that here. It's gapping, but it's not massive. Something like this, I would love to see it come back and test yesterday's close and go. That's what I'm looking for. If it's strong, if it doesn't do that, I'm probably not interested. Oh, and I put the earnings on this guy aren't until March, so you got plenty of time for it to start working its way back up. Inside days, I'm looking at Harley Davidson. It's got a $1.20 range. That's not overly big. I mean, chances are maybe we're at the top of the range and coming down. The only reason I have it on here in terms of gaps, some of these gaps are just beyond. So I don't even know what to make out of them until the market shows us where it wants to go. The reason I have this up, if we look at the yearly, we've got a lot of room to move up. We have earnings at the end of the month, and in a normal market, which we are not in, but you tend to see things start to move up into earnings. So I like it from that standpoint. And I ideally would like to see maybe a pullback to yesterday's highs if it's strong. And that level, let me just mark it out here. Boom. Sync that to all charts. That's up here. You know, a tap yesterday's highs and a go means that thing's really strong. It could come all the way back down to the close. I wouldn't mind that either, and then a run. But really, some of the pivot machine gun potential back to the upside and earnings is why that's on the list. IWM, I just have it on so we can take a look at the indexes together. That's the bottom of my broadening formation. I don't even know where to draw the top, because if I draw it like that, I mean, it's kind of insane. I mean, I don't know. I guess anything's possible. That means that we'd be at 203.45 after already gapping up 2.25%. Do you guys know how to do that with these charts? You know, if you draw your broadening formations, you can get an idea. If you put your cursor on yesterday's candle and you move it over, it will stop where that candle is going to form. And so you can see, if I go in my broadening formation, that's at 203.68. And then the bottom of that is 188.95. I don't know. I mean, that's nuts for it to be gapping up that much. You would think with all this pandemic stuff too that the small caps would be the most at risk, but they've been one of the stronger indexes. I don't know if it was just because they were weak for so long. So I'm not putting this on here as a trade. I'm just showing you the divergence. There's IWM. I've got Qs and SPYs. We'll look at those in just a second. JD, obviously, yesterday was complete nutso. I have this on the chart. It's obviously down from yesterday's highs. That's not surprising. I'd be looking for it to be a long if it holds one of these levels, being these highs from a while back. So if it holds 92.34 or higher, I would be looking for a long back to maybe test these highs again. Pre-market, we're selling off on that volume profile. If it gets much below these highs, I mean, maybe I'd give it to 92 for a ride back up. I'd like to see it hold that and move back higher. If it doesn't do that, then I'm just going to wait and let it tell me where it wants to go. But that's what I'm looking for, you know, at 50% retracement and then a move back higher. And consequently, when you see stocks move on any time frame, that 50% retracement level is very, very normal natural movement. with stocks. You see it all the time. You can see it on a 1 minute, you can see it on a 5 minute, daily. So I'm thinking maybe it's just a 50% retracement and then a move higher. JP Morgan. I have this up that these bank stocks are just crazy. All of them, the small cap banks, the large cap banks. JP Morgan, it's a huge gap. When is their earnings? I just wanted you guys to see this. Banks were such laggards for such a long period of time, and now here we go. I mean, we've got quite a bit of room. These are last year's highs at 141.22. The reason I have this up here is that we can easily go and take that week. We need to see with this type of play, JP Morgan's range isn't massive. It's about 2.6 points, so obviously we're over that amount. I just have it up here. I want to see what these banks do. Out of the gate with JP, that volume profile looks like a short back down to 127.58-ish at least, if not all the way down to this level of 125.83. That's a massive gap for JP. NEO, we don't have earnings until 317, about a $3 range. I do like the fact that it's sitting on yesterday's highs right now. Just gonna mark that out. Double charts. What does that look like? Boom. In an ideal world, before I jump into something like that, I'd like to see it pull back to either the close from 2 days ago or even down to yesterday's close, which change that. Sync to all charts. That's right about there. For a continued move higher. Nike, of all the inside days, this one's a little bit mid-range. I don't mind it because we're mid-range, but we're nearer to the top, at least right now, than the bottom. And if I'm looking at volume profile, it's getting back toward the bottom of that range. So, and we're not too far off from the close 2 days ago. I wouldn't mind it coming down to test the close from 2 days ago, this 140.11 area for a move back up. And Nike, we haven't, killed the range on that. It's about 3 points. It doesn't report for quite a while, so plenty of room for it to go and do its thing. And if we look at 12-month, monthly, we're inside trying to move back up, even though this particular candle is down. We've got this nice wick, so inside and up. I like it. Procter & Gamble. We were green on all time frames. Obviously that changed with this big down candle. I like it. I like this setup with the nice wicks at the bottom. We're gapping up. I would want to see it again come back and test maybe the highs from yesterday. In that range, 138-ish, or even the close from yesterday at 130. Let's see, the highs are, closer to 139, 138.90. Close from yesterday is 138.72 for a ride higher and a push. If I'm looking at the weekly, we're not too far from being able to take that back green. Let's see here. Pins. We've got earnings in a little over a month. Pretty big gap down. What I'd be looking potentially for here is for it to step below that level. It's not quite as nice. Maybe come down and test 66.22 and then head back up. Could just fail too, but I like it looking at this for a move, potentially an outside candle. So a dip down and then a move back up to continue that full-time frame continuity and a run into earnings. That's why it's on my chart. Qs, once again, divergence here. Big inside day. All of the Q stocks for the most part look like this. That's why I didn't throw Apple, Amazon, Facebook, any of them up here. Their charts look almost identical. So a couple things could happen. We could come back up and test this area. I don't know, come back up and test and fail. Or we could do a little test down, come back and make a big 3 to the upside. I can't tell you what it's going to do. Looks crazy to me. You want to, once again, wait for a definitive sign. If I'm looking at this volume profile pre-market, I mean, a little bit ago it looked like, hey, it's great for a short and they may run back up, but right now we're mid-range. It's not giving me a lot of information, and there's a ton of divergence between that and IWM. So wait for your deals on the 1 minute, 15 second, whatever it is you're watching for, and wait for a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, you know, for an uptrend, or the reverse of a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low on those lower time frames to tell you what it wants to do. Riot, obviously, I had heard, wasn't Riot the one that a year ago they've got blockchain in their name, but they don't do anything with the blockchain? I don't know. But if I'm looking at the charts, we're way near the bottom of that range. Tons of room to move back up regardless of what the situation is. We do have a gap. I'd like to see it pull back to yesterday's close, which it looks like it's trying to do right now, and bounce for a continued move higher. I mean, this thing wants 20. That's the next closest whole number. Whether it'll get there today or not, I don't know. But that's one of the few that, you know, pretty strong uptrend. I would expect that to continue, especially looking at the yearly chart. SPY, once again, divergence. We've got this inside candle. We're well below the close. What it's going to do, I really couldn't tell you. It looks like it could be decent for a bounce here at this close from 2 days ago and a move higher. Whether that'll hold, I don't know. We don't have enough information yet. But one other thing, I mean, Tesla obviously is a nutball. I think it's going to be on its way back up to 1,000, you know, over the course of the month. That's just what it seems to like to do. A big gap. Once again, I certainly wouldn't be jumping into this thing out of the gate. I'd wait for it to come back and test a level and hold. And if we're looking at this volume profile pre-market, right now, it looks like it's a short back down to the bottom of that level and then maybe a move higher. And that would put us the bottom of that volume profile at these highs. So that's what I'd be looking for. Wait for it to come back and test, and then on the lower time frames give you its definitive direction. One other thing I'm going to throw up here is XLE. All of the energy stocks, same type of deal on that 12-month time frame. We're way at the bottom. It has a lot of room to come back. Maybe part of it is, you know, the difference between administrations. So with Biden coming in, there's, you know, the agenda seems to be shut down fracking, stop oil production here in the U.S., which means less supply, which means energy moves back up. Awfully big gap on the day. So if you're looking to play this, you know, it needs to pull back somewhere. Maybe to this 4023, the wick on that candle from a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't be jumping into this thing right away. But this, as far as longer term swings, I think that looks pretty darn good. You got to wait for an entry, possibly on the daily, where we're not kind of off the chain, where we pull back to some kind of trend. So that's what I got on the watch list. It's not a lot. I'm not going to be overly jumping into anything. We got to wait for sure for these things to set up. Couple minutes, any charts you guys want to go over? Or questions that you have? You guys are quiet.
Hey, could you look at MMM?
Oh yeah, Triple M, sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Actually, that was on my list before, and I didn't even look at it this
Got
morning.
some action pre-market as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, you know what I would like to see on this guy? I would like to see it go to the close from 2 days ago and bounce. Once again, with the time frame continuity, I mean, I wouldn't overly be worrying about that right now. We're so brand new into this month. Anything could happen. We don't, it's the first week of the year. So for those of you that really get caught up into that or pay attention to it, it doesn't really mean much right at this moment in most cases. So I don't mind that for a pullback to the close from 2 days ago. I wouldn't even really mind if it came back a little bit lower to yesterday's close at the 171 level and then a bounce higher. When do they report again? I'm going to throw that up on the chart. They report the end of this month, so I like that too. I mean, generally speaking, with these stocks, you get that run up into earnings. Again, up is down and down is up lately, so the old rules don't seem to apply, but I really don't mind that for a long. And Triple M is part of the Dow, I believe, and the S&P. Dow, last I checked. Let's look at the diamonds real quick. What are you doing here? Yeah, so the Dow is up. Well, no, down just a hair, right? From yesterday's close. So almost flat. So yeah, I don't mind Triple M. I'd like to just see it find a level and hold with on a smaller time frame. That 1 minute low, high, higher low, higher high, triangle day out, back to trend and in. And oftentimes on a smaller time frame, that's gonna sync with maybe a strat signal on the 5 minute chart. It's uncanny how that works if you start watching it. Oftentimes that's exactly what happens. But yeah, I like that. What else, guys? Anyone? All right, if not, then once again, caution warranted. We're all over the place. I haven't seen the economic data yet, which is sort of odd. We have bizarre stuff going on with the elections in Georgia and people trying to fight the electorates for confirmation of Joe Biden. So it's going to be wild. Just be careful, watch your charts, wait more than ever for those setups, okay? And we'll catch up with you soon here.